Hello, my name is Jesus Antonio Fonseca Lopez, and today I'm going to talk about reducing suicide rates in Mexico. Why I chose this challenge. In the last years, Mexico has suffered from a big social crisis amongst their population, which is suicide. As human beings, we have not been able to dimension how important is mental health, and we have normalized topics such as depression, anxiety, and stress in our daily lives, which had led to a general idea of also taking away your own life as an everyday thought, and that is becoming a reality each time more frequently. That is why we are urged to take some action in this situation and finally make a brainwash to erase all those stereotypes of perceiving mental diseases as weak people problems, and bringing out to everyone a place where to be themselves, ask for help to professionals, and start a new happy and enjoyable life. Here I will present some stats and facts about suicidal rates in Mexico. 5.3 per 100,000 persons suicide in Mexico in 2020. But this stat has increased decade by decade, addressing that in 1990, 3.8 per 100k persons suicide in our country. 3.9% of the population is depressed, and even though this sounds like a small amount of persons, we are talking about more than 300 million people. Suicide is the third main reason of death in young population. That means the 15 to 29 years, which can tell us youngsters may be our target group. Drug addiction and alcohol abuse tend to increase depression and anxiety symptoms. 1.5 million people suffer a mental health disease. Factors such as socioeconomic conditions, access to mental health care, and cultural influence can affect suicide rates. In that way, we know that we can fight the problem starting from those variables. Also, we need to know that suicide rates are higher in men than in women. Some extra stats I found about this topic are 50% of people has anxiety. 20% of global population has suffered from a depression episode for at least one time in all their lifetime. 36% of mental health disorders are consequence of depression and anxiety, while 22% of them are the effect of drug addiction and alcoholism. Even more stats. In this slide, we can appreciate that in the first graphic, there is a big gender gap between suicidal rates, and that all ages are propense to a high rate by 50 to 69 years old present the highest rate in both genders. While in the second graph, we can see a map where North American countries, Central and South Africa, and North Asia tend to have the highest suicidal rates, which can be an effect of cultural aspects or the big socioeconomic gap it exists on those countries. We can also see in this map that Mexico and South America appear in green. That means that they tend to be happier places. So in that way, we can consider the place as a very important aspect in this topic. As well, we can see that in China, Middle East, Europe, and North Africa, there is also green. So we can consider that all those places are or tend to be happier than the previous mentioned. Geocultural point of view. The social importance. Suicide is a very important topic around the world, and Mexico is no exception. Addressing suicide rates can contribute to the well-being and mental health of the population. Healthcare perspective. Discussing suicide rates involves mental health services, support systems, and healthcare policies. It provides an opportunity to evaluate the effectiveness of existing mental health interventions and look forward improving in mental health infrastructure. Educational value. Expositions serve as educational platforms for raising awareness and promoting dialogue on important social issues. Government implications. This topic needs collaborative efforts from government agencies, healthcare professionals, as previously mentioned, non-profit organizations, and of course, the community. Initiatives and the new laws can be implemented while identifying areas for further intervention and investment. Human interest. Suicide is a deeply personal and emotional issue that affects individuals, families, and communities. In other words, it affects all the persons with no exception. Exploring strategies to reduce suicide rates can bring up new opportunities for a happier world. Cultural context. Cultural factors, social norms, and economic conditions may contribute to mental health challenges. Exploring these factors can lead to a better understanding of the root causes of suicide and inform culturally sensitive prevention strategies. Continuing with the previous slide and applying what I have learned in my Geocultural Challenges of Globalization course, suicidal rates are difficult to relate to some concepts and we may apply some subjectivity in order to have coherence and cohesion. Suicidal rates may differ in different places because each region of the world may have its own culture, way of thinking, socioeconomic gap, beliefs, and other aspects proper of the place we come from. The traces can be considered here as what our ancestors leave us related to this topic, and we all know that since previous generations it has existed a big misconception of suicide and mental health diseases, and that is why our actual generations try to change those traces. Belief systems can be important around this topic because, believe it or not, people that believe in a God and future lives tend to be happier, more peaceful, and mental healthier. And that be because around religion there are lots of human values that prevent people from being depressed. As we saw in previous slides, there is a big gender gap between men and women, being men the most affected. But that might not be a barrier to front face this problem and bring up solutions. But in terms of other sexual preferences, homosexuals tend to be more depressed, and that may be because they do not know who they are or what they want, and because there is a whole discrimination around minorities regarding to sexual preferences. If we belong to a place and will feel safe in our surrounding, we are more confident of ourselves, and overthink may disappear. And that is when sense of place may appear. Regarding to ethnicity, no matter which ethnicity you are, you may face this topic in a certain way and you need to be prepared in order to not fall in a mental disease. My proposal to this challenge is creating a suicide prevention hotline as well as a support service by means of an app that can be downloaded in the App Store or iOS or Play Store for Android, which will be a place where you can talk with mental health professionals, join group chats with other people that feel depressed like you, share your experiences, or talk about how you feel day by day. The objective of it is to create a whole web of persons that can help each other and a happier place to be around in case you need to distract a little bit from reality. I will implement it by bringing people that is interested in helping each other, preferably software engineers that can help me make the app, and psychologists that want to give their professional help. Also, there is important that the group of persons or the community that we will create is highly interested in this topic and are available to help. I desire that this works out and that a whole community can be created from scratch all from this. Stakeholders and power dynamics. Our stakeholders are the mental disease persons which need the help of our support services and will come up with us in case of necessity, where our health professionals can provide help and try to calm the situation and have continuous meetings. Our software engineers are also important because they will make reality this app and will improve and fix the communication service in case of needed. Of course, if this support service becomes popular, a public opinion might appear and we need to make our best in order to make it efficient and well perceived by society. We can also have partnerships that can help us finance our project and keep it running without economic barriers. Finally, non-government organizations can be helpful by recommending us or taking us into account more like a solution rather than a problem. There is no cultural relationship between all of these stakeholders, but we can consider that they are all are fighting against the same problem and they have similar principles and human values and they will make the possible to eradicate this problem. Our resources needed in order to make this happen are psychologists and software engineers to keep the app running, as previously mentioned. Partners that can finance our project and give us advertising. As infrastructure, we will need a small office with computers and a friendly environment. And as knowledge, we need to know how to work with mental disease people and how to run an application or support service in the correct way. We are all humans, and we all have just one life, and we need to be grateful for it and live it at our maximum. My role as a responsible citizen is being empathetic with our surroundings, helping when needed, be happy for who I am and what I have accomplished, always smiling, hugging, and hearing my close circle, and finding the small things that make me happy. Changing the world and make it a better place for our next generation must be our goal as human civilization. And even our cultural aspects can differ. It is important to know that nobody born perfect, and knowing that differences make us more human is the correct way of living. Thank you for watching, and see you all later.